for something I really enjoyed doing in lockdown, actually, was getting out, sitting somewhere nice in a park, basking in the sun and reading a good book. Well, I've got a cracking recommendation for you after 9 o'clock. Rose McClelland is back with a brand new crime novel. She'll be on the show to tell us all about it after your 9 o'clock news.
I'm at a party I don't want to be at, and I don't ever wear it.
And there's still loads more to come between now and then. We'll, of course, have nice news before the end of the show. We will hear from our BBC Introducing Artist of the Week. Really interesting band, actually, this week. You'll hear that after 9:30. And in just a sec, I've got a brilliant book recommendation for you. I flew through this book by the author Rose McClelland. She is on the show next.
BBC Radio Leicester.
Dr. Alban. It's My Life on BBC Radio Leicester, 9:15. Jack with you through until 10 o'clock tonight. Next this evening, I've got something for the bookshelf for you, all right? Out of Your Head, it's the latest novel from Rose McClelland. She joined us a few months ago, actually, to talk about her previous book, which was called Under Your Skin. That was an Amazon bestseller and named one of the best books of 2020 in the Belfast Telegraph. She joined me to talk us through the new book.
So it's called Out of Your Head, and the little blurb at the top says, fatal accidents do happen, or was there a plan? And a 6-year-old dies in a car driven by her father, and he barely survives. They think it's a simple hit and run, but the police think that it could be murder, and they're wondering who might be next. And the mother is out of her mind, and if losing her daughter is not enough, why is she being stalked?
I mean, what a way to draw people in. It's such an intriguing concept, I think, prospect for the start of a book.
Thank you. I really enjoyed writing it.
So with this kind of thing, do you start off with an idea, so almost that in your head of a potential hit and run, but is there something more going on, and then you sort of develop it from there, or do you find you sort of starting with characters and that kind of thing?
I start with the theme, first of all. So I started with the theme of addiction and mental health. And then I think about the characters that kind of show that theme. So the character of Liam Fitzpatrick came into my head, and his addiction problems. And then I started to think about what his partner would be like, and, you know, their child, and I just started to kind of go from there. But yes, I always like to have an incident at the start that kind of grabs the reader, and then it's kind of all unraveling behind how that incident happened. But yeah, it's definitely start with the theme first of all.
You mentioned then about the characters, and you said that you developed the character of Liam, who is the father, who, as you say, just about survives this tragic incident where the 6-year-old girl dies, and then it sort of develops on there about, you know, accusations of why it happened and that kind of thing. But what I've found really engaging about this book, and actually your last book as well, which we spoke about a few months ago, is the fact that we get the perspective of Liam, but also all the other characters sort of involved. In both the books, you have the style of each chapter from the perspective of a different character, and I find that a really great way of being engaged and also feeling like I know what is going on in the head of each character. Is that an intentional thing from you because of the success of last time?
I think it's just an intentional way that I write, because I think I would feel too stilted writing from just one character's point of view. And I prefer writing in the first person, because I like getting inside the person's head and talking about their emotions. I don't like writing in the third person and she said this and he did that. I like to get inside the character's head and try and imagine what's going on for them. But to carry that through a whole novel, I think would be too much. So, and also, you know, in any story, well, they always say there's two sides to every story, don't they? And so I kind of want, I feel it would be a bit unbalanced if I only saw the story from Liam's point of view. I wanted to get it from everyone's point of view.
I think I think we discussed this with your previous novel as well, but I think what you do a really good job of, because people will hear that it's a book about a 6-year-old girl tragically dying in a hit and run, and you think, wow, that's really quite heavy and clearly tragic, but you balance it really well with still having it as sort of a fun, engaging crime thriller. How do you go about making sure you balance that right?
Definitely in the plotting, I sit down at the start and plot it out, and I have quite clear ideas in my head of what the twists and turns will be. And I like it to move along quite quickly, and I like to write short chapters. So yes, I kind of like to concentrate more on the drama side of things, than, as you say, those sort of heavier issues. I kind of like to keep things moving quickly.
We spoke last time. I was really proud of you said then about keeping it moving, and I think that's why it's a book. It's a cliche almost to say, but you can't put it down. It's a real page turner. But I found this again. I think last time I was showing off because I'd had sort of one sitting and I read about 100 pages, and I was like, look at me flying through this book. This one was even more ridiculous. I think I was saying before we started recording that I basically read about 40 pages and then had a day where I just sat down and pretty much read the rest. And again, I'm sort of intrigued to know if that's almost an intention of yours, that you want readers to fly through the story like that.
Oh, the listeners can't see that I'm sitting here with a big Cheshire grin on my face. I'm so happy. Thank you. Yeah, that's the intention. I think it's because I like to write in quite short spurts. So I will sit down and I will have a writing session of about 2 hours only, and in that 2 hours I will write a chapter. And so I think that's the way that I write. I write quite quick, and so obviously it must kind of come across. And I'm really pleased about that. I'm delighted. Thank you so much for your lovely comments.
No, honestly, like I said, I flew through it, and I'm almost trying to make sure I don't give anything away because I have finished the book, and I feel like people will benefit from knowing as little as possible. But I'm finding it difficult just having read the book. How do you find that, doing interviews and talking about your book and almost having to guard most of it and not give too much away?
Well, it's funny you should ask that because just before we sat down to do this, I was sitting having a look at the book and actually having to try and remind myself who the characters were, because I'm on to the next book now. I'm on book 6 and I'm on chapter 22 with it.
Wow.
So I'm kind of already into the next, the next story and the next character. So I kind of have to remind myself, who was this about again? Oh yeah.
Well, with that, I was going to ask you a little bit later, but since you touched upon it, I feel like this book and your last one, Under Your Skin, they partner each other really well. I think there's similar themes. As I said, there's similar sort of structure in the way you've written it. I love the fact that, again, we have a great relationship between two detectives, which we had in the last one as well. So is the next one almost like, I know this isn't a sequel to the last one, but it almost feels like it could be in the same universe. Will we have that again with the next one?
Yes, Simon and Kerry have come back again for the next one. And so, yeah, I mean, they can be read as standalone novels, but certainly I like to keep Simon and Kerry coming back each time, dealing with a different mystery each time, but those two same characters, and people seem to like them. And someone said to me, yes, I did like Out of Your Head, but I would have liked more about Simon and Kerry, please. So more of them in the next book. Okay, I'll try my best.
No, but I mean, getting a response like that and having people, I mean, I imagine as a writer, it can almost go two ways, where you have people picking and saying, I want more of this or less of that or whatever. But actually, it must be really nice to have people saying, I want more of these two characters, and appreciating their relationship and sort of the fun that they have.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing feeling. And like the response to Under Your Skin was phenomenal. I mean, Out of Your Head has only just come out a few weeks ago, and I'm already starting to get some really good reviews. But with Under Your Skin, like it went into best books of 2020 in the Belfast Telegraph, and I got a bestseller sticker, and it went to #1, and I just couldn't believe it. So I think this is definitely my genre. I think I'll stick with writing dark crime thrillers.
The last one, as with this one, is set in Belfast, and we spoke last time actually about you writing about where you know, and that's something you tend to do because you can easily pick out landmarks and that kind of thing from your mind. But we also discussed the fact that you know Leicester. Because you went to university here, and we spoke about your days at Montfort Uni last time, and I'm wondering if we will get a Leicester-based book. I think we are craving it here in Leicester.
I need to write that, don't I? And I would have I'd have the Phoenix Theatre and the Haymarket Theatre. Is the Phoenix Theatre still there, or is that called something else?
If it's the cinema you're referring to, yeah, the Arts Centre, it's still here, it's still going.
I loved it there. Yeah, it's nice to be back in Leicester because I honestly I loved the whole 3 years there, and I wrote for the student newspaper. It was called The Voice, and wrote loads of reviews and things. So yes, I'd need to have Simon and Kerry going over on a recce to Leicester. With some incident that's happened in the Haymarket, and a student from Montfort University is involved.
I cannot wait. It's gonna write itself, Rose. I cannot wait to read it. And I cannot wait to read the next book that, as you say, you're already cracking on with. Like I said, I flew through Out of Your Head. Rose, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll send you the next book as well then. Okay?
Cannot wait.
Jack Rafferty.
BBC